In the fabled land of Northern California, nestled in the Valley of Sacramento, two friends begin a journey to enlighten the world about their experience living life as a Zennial. But what is a Zennial, you may ask? If you wish to know, then follow them on their adventures.
And welcome to the Zennial Chronicles. This is James.
This is Mike.
And we are doing our second part today of Kevin Smith movies, since the first part ended up running as long as it did.
Well, you know, if this one happens to go that long too, I'm cool with it. I kind of like that long flow of it.
Well, we have to at least fill the, whole space with the whole space of at least an hour with the Kevin Smith second half.
Yeah. Hopefully
since we
so.
did the first half with the other one. But last time we were talking about the View-Askewniverse movies, right? All the stuff
these were all the Jay and Silent Bob centric
yes.
stuff. This is gonna be all the other ones.
This is gonna be the other stuff that there are. There's one of them that still takes place in the area of the United States that Kevin Smith is from. That takes place in New Jersey. The rest of them, not so much.
There's only one that takes place in Jersey. Well, yeah.
Technically, I mean, there's. I think one of the Bruce Willis one takes place, I think, in New York, right? Not technically Jersey.
Yeah, I think
maybe
so.
Some Jersey crossover.
Yeah, maybe.
But
wow, that's insane. I never thought about it. Now I'm going through all of them in my head and like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he kind of
like one or two of them are in Canada.
Yeah, he kind of jumps away from Jersey and is doing other stuff.
Crazy. Okay, let's get to it, man. Let's see what's going on.
So the first one we're going to talk about actually takes place. It was filmed and came out between Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and Clerks 2.
Okay.
And I honestly believe he went and did Clerks 2 after the very poor critical reception of this movie. Now, some backstory for this movie.
Well, I mean,
The reason that it was a poor critical reception is because it came out not very long after probably one of the worst films in the last 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
A movie called Geely.
Yep.
Starring Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck.
Yep.
Now, this is at the height of the Bennifer time when they were a couple.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I still remember the kind of creepiness of the Jennifer Lopez song, the Jenny from the Block song in the video. Where he's
like in the video with her and stuff.
Yeah, and he's like kissing her butt or something while she's wearing a bikini on a boat somewhere.
Yeah, they're like on a yacht or something like that.
It's a really kind of creepy moment in the video.
Yeah, that's weird.
But they also had a very public breakup around the time that these movies came out. Now, the downside is this movie we're talking about is the movie Jersey Girl.
Yeah.
And it starred Ben Affleck and, for a short period of the movie, Jennifer Lopez.
Should we just give the spoiler warning now on this one?
What? That she dies early in the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah. I remember
she's
seeing
only
the
there
scene.
from the very beginning.
I went and actually saw this out in the theater.
Oh, you did? Lucky you.
I did. I did get to see it in the theater. Here's the deal, man. Like I knew that you had Ben, and it was directed by Kevin, and it has George Carlin in it. Like, I wanted to go see it. And I knew that J-Lo was in it, and I knew that, she played the mother.
Yeah.
But I do remember seeing the childbirth scene, and I remember what they did with it, the way that it was done. I mean, she was fantastic. She was fantastic in this scene, because I remember thinking, dude, that looks like it would kill you. And then take right afterwards.
Yeah.
She stopped screaming, and then you hear nothing but the baby, and you're like, "Oh God, what just happened?"
Well,
like,
and
you get it immediately, and you're like, "Oh man."
It's interesting to note that Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. We'll tap back to that for a second. That was the first movie that Kevin Smith made after he became a father. In fact, his daughter, Harley Quinn Smith, who has become a media sensation kind of her own, and in fact stars in one of the other movies that we're going to talk about, she had her first film role in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Did you know that?
No.
At the very beginning, where you have Baby Silent Bob and Baby Jay.
Yes.
She is Baby Silent Bob.
Shut up.
No, she is. She's Baby Silent Bob.
Oh my God, that's great.
By the way, that's a joke I use on a regular basis. The fat one watch the skinny one, or the big one watch the little one. I make that joke on a regular basis. Like, who's going to watch the kids? That one will watch that one. The tall one will watch the short one. You know,
I didn't know that was Harley.
That's Harley Quinn.
That's great.
That was her first role. She also, if you remember in Clerks 2, when Dante is driving around after the show at the movies, the special show.
Right.
Yeah, that show. just a note for anybody that hasn't watched Clerks 2 yet, please go watch it. Please enjoy that the show portion of that movie. I just wanted to tell you a funny little tidbit that I was watching that movie one night, and it was right around dinner time, and it was at that scene that Sarah's grandmother came downstairs and sat down to watch TV with me. And she's just looking.
She's like, "What are you watching, and why?"
She's looking at the screen, looking at me, looking at the screen. What is this? What channel are you on? Like, it's all right. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Trust me, it's even funnier when you know the scene, but that's one we're not giving away.
That's fantastic.
You need to go watch it. But we're
on the non-Askewniverse movies.
I just want to make the comment that I think his filmmaking aesthetic started to change after he became a father.
Oh.
And I believe Jersey Girl is the real example of this. His father also passed away around the time Jersey Girl was made. That's why there's a dedication to his father at the end of the movie.
Oh.
And I think this movie is him coming to the grips and understanding of being a father in the world, and how that changed his view and perspective of how he saw things.
Interesting. Okay.
And if you think about that as you're watching the movie, it really gives you that kind of idea. I personally believe, just my own opinion, this is the best of his films in the writing of it, the direction of it, the story that he brings to light with this. Because, like you say, beginning of the movie, it's Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. They're a couple. They find out they're pregnant. They have the kid. She dies in childbirth.
Yeah.
You do get a Ben Affleck crying moment, which admittedly was one of the hardest points for me to have a straight face through, because every time Ben Affleck cries in a movie, I just start laughing. It's just natural for me to do.
He just can't cry well? Is that why?
Because he does it in almost every movie. It started in Armageddon. Armageddon was like, he does the crying scene as he's going back up the elevator. Harry, I love you, Harry, to Bruce Willis. As Bruce Willis is going to die on the freaking asteroid, comet, whatever the hell the damn thing is. It's plummeting towards Earth. And it's like he's crying. And then, like, everything you see him in, it's like, oh, Affleck's crying again. Oh, great, Affleck's going to cry. It's just Affleck's thing.
Quick side note. Why the hell didn't they teach a bunch of astronauts to drill instead? Could have solved a lot of problems.
Are you seriously asking me that?
Yes.
Do you know that was while they were making the movie, Ben Affleck specifically asked Michael Bay, why wouldn't they just teach astronauts to drill? That would be so much smarter. Michael Bay just said, shut up. Do the movie. I'm not even joking. This really happened. So
part of me is getting a bit of deja vu. Maybe we said this in an earlier podcast. I'm not sure, but that's hilarious.
I don't know, but it's real. It's really what happened. So good for you. You were on the same mindset as Ben Affleck.
Good?
Are you going to cry now?
No.
Oh, damn.
We're not filming.
You can sound like you're crying. I don't know. I'll film with my phone. Anyway. So you get
that would just be a weird thing to see.
Back to the movie. You get Ben Affleck then having to deal with being a parent when he's got a career that he wants to have, and it's a high-powered career that he wants to have.
Yeah.
Some nice pop culture references in there with Will Smith.
Yeah.
Which I think is very, very good, very hilarious references.
Yeah.
Especially now with him being the genie in Aladdin, the later conversation they have later in the movie.
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I don't.
Well, they have a later conversation in the movie where they're talking about which movies they've seen recently, and Ben Affleck's character talks about seeing a movie with a singing mermaid. That was one of the last ones he saw, and Smith goes, "Oh, okay, so you got a little girl. Okay, I get that." You didn't see the one where I was fighting off a bunch of robots trying to take over the world. AI. Or not AI.
Oh, yeah.
Not AI. What was the other one he did? AI was a different movie. It's the Isaac Asimov.
No.
I feel stupid.
I know what you're talking about. It's the one where he's hunting down the robot that commits murder.
James Cromwell is in it.
Yeah.
And Alan Tudyk is actually the robot. Yeah, Alan Tudyk
that's
from
cool.
like Serenity, Firefly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't think of the name of the iRobot. That's what it is.
Pirate Steve?
It's iRobot. Pirate Steve.
Pirate Steve is the
Arr.
robot. Cool.
Yes. But
You're
yeah,
not a pirate.
It's iRobot. There's little dodgeball reference for you, man. We could do a whole podcast on dodgeball.
We get
I love that movie.
great movie. Okay.
My milkshake brings something
Oh no. Damn it, James.
in your head now.
I hate you so much.
So anyway, you have a Will Smith cameo in the movie, which is good, and it has to do with Will Smith's career, his transition from being a singer to a film star. Kind of nice reference to be used. Originally, it was going to be somebody else's career change, but they had to change the time period within which the movie started. I forget whose it was. Going to be. It was going to be somebody else that was changing either from a TV actor to a movie actor or a singer to an actor. But
so he had somebody else in mind when he originally wrote the
yeah,
script.
but he
Did
changed
it just take a long time?
No, he just changed the time frame as to when he was setting the original parts of the movie. So it changed when it happened.
Cool.
You know, which star was doing what at the time.
Gotcha.
But then it fast forwards to when the kid is a little bit. Well, there's some. While the kid is still a baby, there's a little bit of drama with Ben Affleck and his dad, who he has to move back in with, played amazingly by George Carlin.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward to the kid being 9 years old, and Ben Affleck has given up his career. He's doing other work around the town where they live in.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a story at that point of him trying to find himself and realize who he is in the world now. And after all these years of just kind of plodding along, he's got to figure out what his place is in the world. And here's the key to this movie. The reason this movie resonates so much with me is he finds, by the end of the film, the thing he loves the most. And this is a beautiful moment. First of all, there's some great acting. Stephen Root does an amazing part in this.
He is. He's great.
I forget the name of the other actor that plays the other uncle. Quote unquote uncle, but great stuff. Beautiful moment from Sweeney Todd. The music sequence of the video, the little play sequence that they do, really great. I will mention Liv Tyler is in it, reprising her love interest, to an extent, love interest role with Ben Affleck from Armageddon. Like how I spin all that
Son
together.
Of a gun. I never thought about that.
But interestingly enough, one of the kids doing the Cats performance at their big talent performance, every single kid except for Ben Affleck's kid does the exact same song and scene from Cats.
Yeah.
Because Cats is annoying. They're making, by the way, a feature film of Cats. Yes, it's coming out. Dude, you don't even want to know who is in this.
Part of me doesn't want to see it.
Huge names.
I've never seen Cats. I've
Huge
never
names.
been into wanting to watch Cats.
I've watched portions of it when people have forced me. I may be into theater, but not that. But anyway.
Why? Is it just, yeah.
It's a thing. It's a thing. I don't know why it's a thing, but it's a thing. But anyway.
Okay.
They do Sweeney Todd, which is awesome. Sondheim is difficult. But in the Cats thing, one of the kids doing the Cats performance, Harley Quinn again. Harley Quinn Smith.
Cute.
She has another cameo in there. He basically just started throwing her in all the movies.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's there, and she's his daughter.
But the thing is, this is a love story. But it's not a love story in the traditional sense. Now, you get set up with thinking that it's a love story between Ben and Liv Tyler's character. Because they do have a bit of love interest stuff going on. There's some romance to an extent happening. But that's not what it's a love story about. It's a love story about a man figuring out how to be a dad and figuring out that he loves his kid and how important his kid is to him. And in fact, this kid's the most important thing in his life. And if you think about that last scene, first of all, the last scene when they're in a bar at the very end, George Carlin has probably the greatest moment in his entire acting career. Ben Affleck sits next to him. I'm going into detail because this moment gets me choked up and I'm literally crying the rest of the movie. Ben Affleck sits next to him, and at one point in the movie, Ben's trying to get back into his high-powered career and is thinking about moving back to New York, bringing his kid to New York, where he'll be making money again. She can have nannies, she can go to really good schools, and she just wants to live her normal life that she's been living that she loves. And he makes the decision, of course, to stay where they're at to keep that normal life that she loves, do what's best for her. And he sits next to his dad and he says, you were worried for a minute there that, you'd have the house all alone to yourself again, huh? Be a bachelor again. And George Carlin's response, not as much as I was worried about dying alone.
Oh.
Just like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like a moment of, oh, crap. He's having this emotional moment. He's emotional and acting dramatically throughout the whole movie. He's fantastic, but that little moment is like, especially for a man at that age, from that era, to admit that I need somebody there and I want somebody there with me so I don't have to die alone.
Yeah.
That's just, and it's just a little tiny moment in the movie, but it just hits you. Because his realization that having his son there with him and his granddaughter there, that's his life, and he loves it just as much. And then Ben goes and dances for a moment with Liv Tyler. And then he picks up his daughter and dances with his daughter. And the movie ends with a spotlight on the two of them, just dancing around.
Cool. Simple.
And that's the thing is, that's why it's the love story about him with his daughter, realizing my daughter's important to me. I love her. It doesn't have to be a romantic love, but this is love. It's a beautiful thing. And I think that, again, has to do with Kevin's relationship with his father, Kevin's relationship with his new kid.
Yeah.
This is, him trying to say, care about your kid. Love your kid.
Yeah.
Don't just have your kid to have your kid. Truly love your kid. Beautiful moment. That's one of the reasons why it is probably most assuredly my favorite Kevin Smith movie, and much maligned. It is definitely a movie that gets a lot of bad reviews, a lot of bad press, and I think the music is top notch. The music choices that he got for it, the camera work. This is the movie he worked with a different camera operator on, an Academy Award winning camera operator, and he had a lot of trouble working with the guy because they spoke different languages. But
so this was the one. I thought you were talking about this one was the one of the Askewniverse.
No,
ones.
This is the one that he got the different camera guy with.
Gotcha. Okay.
And because it took place before Clerks 2 when he got his old camera guy back.
Yeah.
And it definitely, he had trouble with it, but at the same time, the camera moves in such a lyrical way that I think it helped to inspire him for later movies.
Cool.
So, there's Jersey Girl. That was in 2004. Clerks was 2006, or Clerks 2 was 2006, which we talked about last time.
Right.
Then we move on to the next one. This is probably one of the more, again, absurd movies that he made. First one that he really sets outside of the Jersey area. Now, some parts of Jay and Silent Bob happened outside of Jersey because they go to Hollywood and whatnot.
Right.
For the most part, that's where it starts. Zack and Miri make a porno. First of all, just so you know, the studios didn't want to let that be the title. They just wanted to call it Zack and Miri. And in fact, for a while in all the ad campaigns, it was only called Zack and Miri. They didn't want Make a Porno in the title.
No, that wouldn't have worked.
Well, they didn't want that because they didn't think it was good advertising.
Right.
They also had to fight hard not to have an X rating on it because of the various things that happened within the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And there is some almost gratuitous sex moments. Interestingly enough, you don't see any major body parts, but still close to gratuitous sex moments.
Yeah. The framing was done extremely well.
Very well.
Yeah.
That one takes place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, interestingly enough. Or no, it's not Pittsburgh, it's another town. It's in Pennsylvania, but it's in a town that's famous for a zombie movie being set there. Monroeville or something like that. I don't know. That one I'd have to look up, but it was chosen specifically because a zombie movie had been made in that town and referencing that town. So there was a little bit of a joke there. This is interesting because it's a team up of Seth Rogen and Kevin Smith, which apparently was Seth Rogen is very much about improving stuff.
Yeah.
And Kevin Smith not as much. So it was a very interesting relationship between the two of them.
I'm sure there was, yeah.
But I think, again, another movie about his movies all seem to have love as kind of the central feature. Yeah. Because it was about two people who are friends who eventually find out through various shenanigans, is the best way to describe it, that they actually do love each other, even though they've tried to fight that kind of thought and impulse for many years. Amazing acting by Craig Robinson. Two better known as stars of pornography, Tracy Lords and what was the other one? Katie Morgan. Great acting work by the two of them.
Yeah.
Jason Mewes in the first non-Jay role that he does.
Oh, he's fantastic.
And he's an amazing kind of sleazeball type character, almost sleazeball type character.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody that has the idea for the Dutch rudder is definitely on the area of sleazeball. Interestingly enough, I think the only full frontal nudity that you get in the movie is Jason Mewes.
I think so, yeah.
I think it's the only person that you see, and all he is walking down a hallway at one point, and he's completely naked.
Yeah.
But he's the only one that I think you see naked, completely naked. You see tops, but you don't see bottoms, except on Jay.
Right, except on Jay. I think that Kevin specifically, I'm sure he planned the hell out of that.
Actually, apparently this was something that Jason Mewes was known for doing regularly anyway, which was stripping down naked and just walking around naked. So it's just kind of part of the crazy mentality that Jason had. But again, another great movie about love and in many forms. A little bit more interesting in that movie, he touches back on subjects from Chasing Amy in that he does touch on a couple that is a homosexual couple, and he has a much more modern take and approach on it. And it's kind of a funny take on that couple. Do you remember that scene?
You're talking the scene with
Justin Long?
Justin Long and Superman.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that scene.
It's actually a really good scene because you get again a different take on things.
Yeah.
And the movie is literally about two friends who can't pay their bills, so they decide to make a porn movie to sell to all their old high school friends in the hopes that they'll make enough money to pay their bills.
Right.
Their rent, their PG&E, that kind of stuff. And they end up doing a lot more. Again, great character performances. I was mentioning to you earlier, Tisha Campbell of the Martin Lawrence's TV show fame. Yeah. She has a very small role at the end of the movie. She's Craig Robinson's wife.
Yeah.
And it is really just almost worth watching it just for her role because she is absolutely hilarious. She is a shrewish wife and she just goes all out for it.
Oh yeah.
It's an amazing performance, but
masterful, we would say.
But great movie. Again, different kind of feel. This is him as a Gen Xer, as a parent, getting older. Right. Seeing some of the changes in society and I think adapting to them. This idea with these two characters making a porno and then they're going to their 10th or 15th high school reunion.
Uh-huh.
So they're in their, late 20s, early 30s coping with the fact that they really haven't changed much. They haven't done much since high school. They've just kind of been in a holding pattern and how much should they change? What more has life in store for them? Very similar to kind of some of the stuff going on in Clerks 2. This is still the adaptation of him. He's an adult now. He's got a family. He's got responsibilities. How do people cope with the changes in life as they get to these points in their life where they suddenly have to be more responsible for themselves? Then we get the studio movie. Zack and Miri came out in 2008.
Oh, okay.
In 2010, we get a movie that the movie studios kind of contracted Kevin Smith to make so that he could get some of his other movies made, so that he could kind of get funding.
Yeah.
This is a movie called Cop Out.
The one with Bruce Willis.
Now, this is his first kind of almost non-entirely comedic movie, although it is funny.
It is funny. I mean, it's a buddy cop movie.
It is a buddy cop movie.
A generic buddy cop movie.
But it's not necessarily a full-on comedy like the other movies of his. Now, I will admit, I have not seen it.
Okay.
Because the premise was not even interesting to me. Something about stolen baseball cards and Bruce Willis and now Tracy Morgan I would consider because he's hilarious.
I've seen it, but I saw it when it came out, the year after it came out.
Yeah. And how much of an impression did it leave on you?
There were some of the scenes that were funny, but I don't remember a major portion of the film.
Importantly, this was actually a movie that Kevin Smith was not the main writer on.
He didn't really want to do it, though, did he?
No, and he ended up having very big conflicts with Bruce Willis throughout because of kind of the way Kevin Smith directed films was in a very kind of simplistic, artistic way. He wasn't necessarily a super technical director.
Yeah.
And Bruce Willis apparently took issue, I should say, with the fact that he didn't have the level of technical chops that Bruce Willis was expecting somebody to have.
I'm curious how this came about, because I think this was. It looks like it was written. Like when you look at the film, it looks like it's written around the time of Lethal Weapon, and it was just sitting in development hell forever.
It's after the Lethal Weapon movies.
The what now?
It's after the Lethal Weapon movies.
No, yeah, it came out after the Lethal Weapon
You
movies.
think it may have just been a script that had been floating around and messed with for years?
Yeah, but remember, like, think about it. Around the time, this script just feels like something that an executive's buddy wrote.
Yeah, I could see that.
And it was they probably wrote it during the time that, like, Lethal Weapon 3 or 4 had
Probably
been
4.
out, and then the Rush Hour movies came out, and it's hot, right? Like, the buddy cop thing's still rolling pretty good, and I bet you it was written probably like 2002 or 2003, and it was probably stuck in development hell or like pre-development hell for a while, pre-pro hell, and then it finally came around. Like, is it a Weinstein film, just out of curiosity?
That I do not know.
Okay, so I knew that at one point he broke off from Miramax, because Miramax was owned by the Weinsteins, and then they did their own film company.
Yeah,
right.
I think that came after this.
Okay, so
because I think the critical reception that this got and all the issues involved almost made Kevin Smith stop making movies.
Yeah, no, everybody hated it. It had,
and he actually started attacking critics at that point too. Verbally attacking them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there became verbal spars with critics. It became like after this movie, it became major issues.
I mean, critics freaking hated that film, and they hated him for it too, which is crazy.
There was a lot going on.
It's like,
with
I don't think
movie.
it was something he wanted to do in the first place. It just seemed like.
I think I honestly think that's where you see some of the shift in his perspective, because the next 3 movies on the list are a whole different brand of movie.
That was when he went back to, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to.
Yeah, whole different brand of movie.
We will get them made, and I will do this. And, I don't care whether or not they're successful.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make something I think is interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that's fantastic.
To an extent, I agree. You don't necessarily want to have to be lorded over by the different companies. And to think about it, his initial foray into filmmaking, Clerks, he made that with absolutely no oversight.
Yeah.
And it was what made him big.
Right. So why not continue to do that?
Why not?
Right.
So at this point, we're actually going to take a break. We missed taking a break last session because we just kept talking. I think the reason for that was I expected to have a proper breaking point, and then stuff just kept going. But
dude, those Askewniverse films, man, we just kept.
They're so
going.
interconnected, and they mean so much to not just me and not just you, but to so many people who love cinema, especially cinema of the 90s.
Totally.
This was definitely, those movies were some of the real, I would say, almost the highbrow comedy of the 90s. Even though it's still, fucking fart jokes, it's still the highbrow comedy of the 90s. But we'll take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about kind of the change, the new evolution of, or at least what was then the new evolution of Kevin Smith movies. Different, a little darker.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be back in a bit.
Hey friends, this is Mike from the Zennial Chronicles reminding you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Zencron, spelled XENCHRON, to keep up to date on all things TXC. And please check out our official website, thezennialchronicles.com, or if that's too much to type, zencron.com. Thanks again for listening, and now, back to the show.
And we are back, everybody. Second half of the Kevin Smith thing. It's a little bit redundant, but whatever.
Here, let's start that over.
Why? I like it.
Second half of the second half?
Yes, we're keeping it, damn it.
Fine.
We're keeping all of this, too.
Fine.
I like things like that. It makes it more realistic.
We ain't producing nothing here.
People are sitting there going, yep, that's exactly what James sounds like. He's a damn idiot when he talks. Yes, I am. Keep all of this.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So.
I'm keeping the rant.
Please. Do it.
All right. What's up, man?
Okay, so now we're talking about the kind of shift in Kevin Smith's movie making. This was a weird shift. This is actually where he in a sense kind of lost me with movies.
Oh, really?
Because he went to a darker place in a time that my brain wasn't ready to handle darker places.
Gotcha.
And he went to a dark place. So this first one you get to talk about. because
okay.
you actually saw this movie. This
Yes.
is his first.
So you haven't seen this, I have, right?
No, I haven't seen this one. This
Okay.
is his first kind of foray into this almost trilogy of movies that he made.
Yeah.
Yeah. Technically, the last, or the second and third one that we're going to talk about here are much more
He's
actually
creating a
interconnected.
new. Well, yeah, he's creating a new universe with those
Yeah.
two films.
So this one
is kind of like an offshoot. Okay, so basically, let me preface this one a little bit.
You want me to say the name of the movie?
Sure.
Red State is the
Yes.
name of the movie. Now that brings up specific connotations to me already, which I think
Right.
are necessary.
And that's kind of part of his. That's the purpose of what he's going for. So basically, this backstory of this started out actually during the time when Dogma was made.
Okay.
What was happening was there was a lot of protests happening to that film specifically.
Yeah.
A big portion of it.
Does this have to do with Westboro?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Specifically, funny enough, Kevin ended up learning like a lot of people on a first name basis. And
From
since then,
Westboro?
some of the
Yeah.
people that have, and since then, some of the people that have broken off from Westboro, he's actually been able to, put out a little bit of commentary on it because
Yeah.
of these people that he knew personally that broke off from the church afterwards. For anybody that doesn't know, the Westboro Baptist Church back, when did they kind of stop being really valid? Maybe 5 years ago. So it's been a little while.
For me, they were never valid, but that's.
Think about it this way. There are kids that got out of high school like 2 or 3 years ago
Yeah.
that don't know who the Westboro Baptist Church is.
Well, good.
Yeah,
I would say
as
good.
well.
I would say
I mean, those
that a
these
good thing
guys
has
were
been done.
Yeah, these guys were. They were kind of like
For anybody that doesn't know about them, these were the guys that really, for all people that believe that Jesus is their savior and want to live in a happy, peaceful life, knowing that Jesus is their savior and love other people and whatnot. These are the people that make any of your beliefs look terrible because they are terrible human beings that still claim to have Jesus as a part of their life. They just really were. They went around and did really mean and malicious things to people in an attempt to try to. Well, okay.
That aside, get this.
Go ahead.
Actually, back. What is his name? I can't remember his name. He passed away some years ago, but he actually the gentleman Phelps.
Yeah.
Yes, Phelps, who started the Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah.
Was actually a huge advocate, I believe, of civil rights in the 60s.
He was actually.
That's part of how he started it.
He was a major civil rights activist in the 60s, and then he kind of created his church, and instead of a church that was preaching,
so it started with incredibly like high grade intentions.
Yeah,
here,
great stuff that he was doing, and then it turned into something that was more about hating other people for the things that they did in their life.
Well, here's
and to the point of this is the group that would go to funerals of like fallen soldiers.
Well, before we go that extreme, I would like to put a slight bit more backstory on that.
Please do.
So they started as far as a pro-civil rights church, right?
Okay.
They started that way. They kind of tended, after that, they kind of formed into a apocalyptic, celebrating fire and brimstone kind of crazy organization that went far beyond the what is known as the traditional Christian moniker and understanding.
Yeah.
That being said, they protested, and they protest constantly. They protest against film production. They protest against Hollywood, rock musicians. More specifically, they protested Ronnie James Dio's funeral. They protest the funerals of soldiers. They were actually big big anti-Vietnam.
Yeah.
But what they were doing was they were celebrating the punishment that was coming to these people that were acting in these quote unquote ungodly ways. And I'm not trying to make this is not about a religious outlook.
No,
or anything
this is
like
about
that, man.
this is about what this one specific group took and twisted what other people have as their belief systems into a really dark and bad thing. And like you said, they would go to soldiers' funerals and would be not just protesting like soldiers being at war, but being glad that this soldier was killed because this soldier was doing ungodly things, like you said.
One more.
And they were harassing the families of these fallen soldiers.
This is far
harassing
beyond any
families
form of civility when it comes to this.
This is not what almost any person that would espouse the teachings of Jesus that would claim themselves to be under the title of Christian as believers in Jesus.
Right.
This is not what any of them would consider morally right in any way, shape, or form, because they were just vicious and cruel to people. There was no love involved in the things that they were doing. This was just a bad group of people that took and ran with an idea.
Yeah, they were celebrating punishment, and
what
they saw as punishment.
What we're trying to say is this is not an indictment on religion from James and Mike.
No,
this is just saying this is what this one little group did under the name of religion, when in fact it really wasn't about the religion. It was about this group being just not good people.
Yes,
and
exactly.
doing not good things.
Exactly. Thank you. So basically, Kevin kind of started to know some of these people, and he would have, his fun with them in many different ways, especially during protests and all this kind of stuff that they would do. And there's many stories about them. Check them out. They're probably all over YouTube or the internet or what have you.
That and the two evenings with Kevin Smith.
And the Evening with Kevin Smith DVDs, which, by the way, are fantastic.
They are.
If we didn't already
stuff.
endorse them, they're amazing. Anyways, so his idea was essentially, it started on the basis of, well, what if you took a group that protested all of these things? You took a fire and brimstone church and you militarized them. That's the basic idea. Starting.
Waco?
Kinda.
Okay.
Because that's actually what ends up happening. What happens is, it starts off with a couple of kids who are trying to meet up with, it essentially starts with three high schoolers, I think, who are meeting up with an older MILF on social media, right? That's the idea.
Okay.
And they're trying to get the hookup as far as that's concerned. And what ends up happening is she hands the kids a couple of beers, and they start drinking because they're about to have a night of fun.
They got roofied.
And they get roofied, and they pass out, and they wake up blindfolded, strapped to a chair in a cage.
See,
two of them are in cages.
Too dark for where my mind was at the time. Whoa.
Two of them are in cages, and the third one is sitting on a chair at a pulpit in a small church. And it's a old, like, looks like a abandoned building type church, right?
I've had nightmares like this. Go on.
Super old. And what ends up happening essentially is the head priest of this church, you would call him I wouldn't necessarily call him a priest because he's more,
priest,
it's not
pastor.
Catholic, pastor, thank you.
Okay.
He would be the head pastor. It's definitely not like a Catholic organization here. However,
that's funny. A person who's experienced with religion as a child, Catholic, going to the word priest, person who's had experience with a bunch of different churches. Pastor, yep,
pastor,
pastor.
Yeah. So the head pastor is essentially he's not just known as a father because they start talking to him about a father. He is their biological father of, like, practically the entire church congregation.
Oh, okay. So
this is a family of fire and brimstone. Yeah, this is a family of fire and brimstone. I will call them hyper evangelists.
Okay.
To get them, like, way beyond even the evangelist thing. This is far past that. That is essentially militarized. And what they are doing is they feel they are doing God's work by punishing these sinners themselves. So they do a whole prayer, they have the hands in the air, they're doing the celebration thing, and they shoot this kid straight square in the head. Right there in front of his friends.
That's.
Some of these kids end up reported missing. The police show up at the church in front. They find the pastor even comes out, has a little bit of a back and forth with him. The police start to have suspicions, by the way, being played by John Goodman and Kevin Pollak, a fantastic cast. And basically what ends up happening in the film, without giving away too much, is Kevin intentionally wrote this film with the purpose of
going to a portion where you thought the film was going to go and throwing in a curveball that is a permanent switch on the story. And he does it umpteen times. And the surprise of it, it is ridiculously dark. It is very, very hard to take every single time something happens, but you have no clue how any of this stuff's going to go. You don't know if the kid's going to survive. You have some of the kids flip back and forth. You have conflicts of morality all throughout the film. You don't know how any of this stuff's going to go because there are zero sacred characters. There is zero sacred plot point. You don't know what's going to happen. As a matter of fact, and I will not give this away, but what you think will be the ending obviously is not the ending. And the ending that was going to be the ending ends up not being the ending. Like the actual original scripted ending was
this the scripted ending?
Yeah, James is giving me a hand signal. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is. That's exactly what it was.
Yes, that was a scripted ending.
That was the original scripted ending, and they trashed it. Oh, they trashed it for budget?
Well, yeah, because you can't have that.
Come on.
You can't have that.
Yeah. I mean,
that would have cost a lot of money.
No, well, not just money, but at the same time, like there is zero relief. Zero. None of it. And it's so like you want things to happen, they don't happen, and you terribly don't want other things to happen, and they totally happen. And it's such a ridiculous premise. If you guys, if anybody who's listening to this, if you don't care how dark your movies get, and you want a roller coaster ride that you will not expect all the way through, watch this movie.
Well, I think that can really show an evolution of his filmmaking style is to have something like that.
And all the stuff that I say, that I have said so far, like happens like within the first half hour. You've still got a whole hour worth left of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, it is just like the suspense continues to build. It is one of the greatest crescendos of a film I've ever seen.
Well, there you go. Points for Kevin on it, and it's one that I've intended to watch, but just haven't been in the right mindset, and even more now, kind of want to see it, but have to wait till my brain's ready to deal with darkness like that.
Yeah,
because I knew it was heavy from what I had heard about it. You have helped to confirm that, sir. Yes. It is damn heavy.
It is damn heavy.
Now to the next film.
Okay.
Which is also
real dark too.
Which is also a little on the dark side.
Speaking of which, both of these films star Michael Parks.
Yes,
may he rest in peace. Holy smokes, he was incredible actor.
He's the pastor in Red State.
He plays the pastor in Red
State.
And then
he plays the.
I think this might have been the last film he did.
It's one of them, but he plays he plays the. What do you want to say? He's the homeowner.
Yeah, he's the homeowner.
And in the next movie.
Should I preface this one too?
Well,
because I kind of know a bit about the backstory.
This movie is called Tusk.
Yes.
Go ahead. What's the backstory that you know, sir?
All right, so check this out.
Real quick, I just want to add on here. If anybody that is listening to this has any connection to Kevin Smith other than like following him on Facebook, because like I follow him on Facebook.
Yeah.
But if anybody has any connection to this, and can get him to listen to last episode and this episode, and then get him to tell us where we're wrong.
Oh, please.
First of all, we'd love to hear from him.
Yeah.
Because we absolutely love him. Second of all, we'd love to know where we're wrong so we have the right stories. Because then that makes us also have
this is essentially I'm kind of running off the cuff here, so this is okay. So essentially what the story is that Kevin Smith, I think if I remember correctly, he was on a podcast and talking to somebody.
Podcasts are cool.
Podcasts are cool.
People should
listen. But it was a live
them.
podcast. Okay.
Oh, it was live.
It was live, and people were doing like the chat thing and all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
But Twitter was involved in this. So basically, Kevin had made essentially for the most part, made the claim that you could practically almost make a movie out of anything, really. All you need is the right team of people, and you need the ability to put together a good script, and you need to be able to like do this. Like, come on, like let's do this.
I was actually at one point going to write a musical, not necessarily a movie.
Oh yeah, huh?
But I was going to write a musical about a lowly turd minion who fell in love with the dork princess.
Why are you not trying to script that?
I gave up on it years ago. Now the scary part is when I
James, we have the internet now.
the scary part is when I came up with the idea for the turd minion falling in love with the dork princess. I was in college.
Beautiful. That's the time.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I should have done it.
Trey Parker and Matt Stone have had a career for like 20 years because they came up with an idea in college.
Yeah, I mean,
It's worth it.
okay.
Do it.
So you'll help me then.
Yes,
You'll help me write
your
the
life
musical.
will be full of regret. A turd minionless, dork princessless regret if you don't make this film.
All right, we will work on that.
All right. Okay. So moving right along
to the premise.
The idea was
Anything
that-
could be a movie.
yeah, essentially it was you can make a movie out of practically anything. So I don't remember what podcast it was. There was a host of the podcast. I believe Kevin was a guest. He pulls up a personals ad for a gentleman. It's a Canadian personals ad, if I remember correctly.
Canadians.
For a gentleman who had claimed that at one point in his life was saved by a walrus.
I remember this.
We
yes.
have no clue how much acid was involved in this story. Now, that being said, he claimed that his life was saved by a walrus, and he has a personal connection to walruses. That's the plural, right?
I'm assuming so.
Walrus.
I have not been around enough of them to
Walrus.
require the use of plurality with them.
Okay, so this man has an obsession with the majestic walrus. So he puts out a personals ad because he's looking for someone to rent a room. However, the premise of the personals ad is rent the room, but you get free room and board. The only catch is that you have to dress up like a walrus. Like, you have to put on a full walrus costume.
Okay, just really quick sidebar.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the movie 50 First Dates?
Yes.
Do you remember the joke about the walrus in that movie?
No.
Well, there's a walrus that Adam Sandler's character takes care of,
Right?
and he makes the joke, and Dan Aykroyd makes the joke.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the walrus has the second largest penis in the animal kingdom.
Oh, no.
You know, as the largest?
Who?
Me. That's the joke. It's
Damn
not
it.
true,
Damn it,
but that's the
James.
joke. That's the joke in the movie.
All right, so this is the essential premise of the thing. Is you got a roommate.
Again,
they
that
live
joke
for free.
is not true.
Yeah, they. Yeah, this is a roommate. They live for free. Hell of a transition.
Is there a penis size requirement for said roommate?
I don't know. Maybe that was the.
I'm just inquiring for a friend.
I don't know. I don't know that detail.
Okay,
You should look up the podcast.
will do.
Anyway, so he puts out this. He's like, basically, he's like, I could make that movie on a dare. So here's what I want from you, and he's talking to the audience. He says, "Hey, Twitter, I want you to tweet me, and I want you to tweet this podcast right now with 2 hashtags, either hashtag Walrus Yes or hashtag Walrus No." And Walrus Yes was, I think, one of the top trending hashtags at the time. It blasted out Walrus No hardcore because this thing went over for like days afterwards. They're like, Kevin Smith's gonna make a movie about a guy dressed like a walrus. They say do it. It's like, all right, cool. So he's got this dare now, and he needs to make the movie. So he makes the movie, but he makes it a horror film instead.
Which is fantastic.
I mean, it sounds like it's supposed to be a comedy. It's like the dumbest possible idea.
well, no, I don't know. I don't know how that sounds like a comedy to you. That sounds like that personal ad.
Yeah.
sounds like the premise for a freaking horror movie to me. So it makes perfect sense.
I didn't think about it. I was like, this just sounds ridiculous. Like, who would do that? But at the same time, you're right. That doesn't necessarily sound like a funny thing. Like,
No.
what kind of a crazy son of a gun
Yes,
is going to ask a
That is a
person
crazy
to live in
damn
their house
person.
for free dressed like a walrus?
that is a crazy damn person.
So the idea of the film instead.
Hold on, Mystery Alaska joke in my head. Just for anybody, if the wife listens to this, Mystery Alaska joke right now. Please go on. I'll explain later.
Oh, okay. Yes, please do, because I don't know. Anyway, so the idea of the film is this man answers a personals ad, and I believe it does take place in Canada, if I'm not mistaken.
for a gentleman who will allow him to live in this room for free. And if I remember correctly, I don't think the walrus part is mentioned in the personals ad itself.
Caveat here, I have not actually seen the film. I just know things about it.
Now, neither have I. So we will work with.
I just know that it's literally he does more than just wear a walrus suit. He almost does a full transformation.
So here's the idea. What it is it's a horror movie about a guy who, instead of wearing a walrus suit, this guy is essentially kidnapped by Michael Parks' character, who's the homeowner, and Michael Parks basically drugs him and performs surgery on him to body modify him to
a freaking
create
walrus.
him as a walrus with like actual parts. Like he modifies his skin and adds body parts to him, and he's trying to turn a human into a walrus. And it sounds
Terrifying.
goofy. Yeah, it sounds kind of goofy. Like, you just don't think of a walrus as a goofy character. Like, or you don't think of it as a scary character. Walruses are nuts. You don't want to mess with a walrus.
They're freaking huge.
Yeah, they're gargantuan, and
Like,
they will mess
joke,
you up.
I joke about me being fat.
Yeah.
Those things are fat.
But-
they're freaking huge.
But this guy, basically, the horror portion of the film
They fight polar bears.
is... Yes.
Wow, so many connections. Go on. Sorry.
Okay. This is probably one of the best. This thing was like, I think it was like all over like Fangoria and stuff, because this is some facial prosthetic. This is some like prosthetic, like practical effects.
Heavy effects.
Nasty, totally gross. Like, you want to see it, but you really don't. It's very much a train wreck of a film, and it's like disgusting. But the special effects are like the reason why you see it at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I can see that.
It's insane. It is absolutely insane.
And now, just an added thing. I normally stay away from horror movies. Just as a general rule, I'm not a fan of them.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons I stayed away from watching this one.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting side note, I watched the original Child's Play last week after we had our last podcast.
Yeah.
In fact, the day after, I watched the original Child's Play.
Cool.
I ended up laughing the entire time, wondering what the hell people in the 80s thought this was a horror movie.
Oh,
because it is so
goofy.
stupid.
It's so goofy.
So dumb. But anyway, that's the reason, sadly, I have not seen this and may not, because horror movies, especially kind of the torture, porn, gross out movies,
Yeah.
I just personally stay away from. But hey, Justin Long turned into a walrus. That's a thing.
Yeah. Slowly transforming into a walrus
That's the
and
thing.
being tortured the entire time. I mean, if you really don't like Justin Long, you might want to watch this movie.
There you go. If he ticked you off as the whiny character in Dodgeball, or you were mad that he took over the voice of Alvin in the Alvin and the Chipmunk movies, just
he did.
He did.
Some people
Interesting.
hate him because he created a fake college.
There's that too. I remember that one. So there's
There's also now this one, if I remember correctly, is actually the first movie in a new continuity that Kevin started. Is
and
that correct?
the actor that's the same in this is actually Johnny Depp in a large amount of makeup.
Wait, Johnny
He's actually
Depp
a
is
private
in
investigator.
Tusk as well?
Yes, he's a private investigator.
So he's in Tusk, and also you have Johnny Depp's the other people that are cast in the film. Bit parts I thought they had in the first one.
in Tusk.
right?
In Tusk,
In
they
Tusk,
have a
they're
bit part.
parts, like they introduce the characters.
Yes, and those two characters are played by Harley Quinn Smith, his daughter, and
Johnny Depp's daughter, but I can't remember her name.
I don't remember her name.
And so Johnny
either.
Depp is in Tusk as well. I didn't know of.
Yes, he has a small role in that as
That's
the investigator part, and that leads into the next movie.
Isn't Haley Joel Osment in Tusk as well?
I
He
believe
has a
Haley
bit
Joel
part?
Osment is in Tusk.
Right. They transition into this next film too, right?
I don't
Because I know
remember
Haley Joel Osment.
I don't remember if Haley Joel's in the next one.
I think he's in the second one.
I am unsure.
I thought
about
Haley
that.
Joel Osment like plays the hookup to the dude that to Justin Long's character.
I think he's in Tusk. I just don't think he's in the other one. I don't remember for sure. The other one we're talking about, of course, is Yoga Hosers.
That's one I want to see.
I have actually seen that one.
How is it?
The thing I would compare it to more than anything else. Hold on a second. I'm doing some checking here.
I also want to know why the hell is it called Yoga Hosers?
It's a Canadian thing.
What?
It's a Canadian thing. Yes, Haley Joel Osment is in both of, or at least in Yoga Hosers.
Oh, okay.
Yoga, because they actually do yoga in the movie. Hosers is kind of a Canadian insult. I am unsure what it means because I am not Canadian.
Hoser.
But they play basically clerks in a store.
Yeah, I was like, it's Canadian female clerks.
In a sense, except apparently this store was built on top of a Nazi stronghold in North America that has a bunch of supernatural powers underneath it.
Wait, what the hell?
And bratwurst come to life in Nazi. This is at least what I remember from the one time watching it. Bratwurst come to life as like little Nazi things trying to take over the town.
Hold on. A Nazi stronghold in Canada?
Yeah, apparently.
This is like, okay, you know what that story kind of reminds me of?
What?
Have you ever seen Bubba Hotep?
Yes.
It sounds that ridiculous. Bubba Hotep is a great film. Bruce Campbell's in it. He plays an old man in a home with... basically, he believes he's Elvis. He thinks he switched with an Elvis impersonator back in like the 60s and then lived the rest of his life. And another gentleman who I can't remember his name right now, accomplished black actor, plays a man who thinks he's John F. Kennedy and he's a paraplegic.
Ozzie Davis.
Ozzie Davis, thank you.
Yes.
Ozzie Davis plays a dude who thinks he's John F. Kennedy, and the two of them fight an ancient Egyptian mummy.
Yes. In a retirement home.
In a retirement
with walkers
home.
and everything.
Yes.
It's
so good.
Well, actually, funny enough, the way I would describe this
movie...
movie...
I want to watch it tonight now.
The way I describe this movie to somebody who's not seen it is very much in the vein of Army of Darkness, another Bruce Campbell movie.
Yes.
Not as much Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, because while there was some campy fun in that, they were real horror movies.
Okay.
Army of Darkness is not a horror movie. Army of Darkness is a comedy with horror elements.
Yes.
So I would say this is definitely, when you have Kevin Smith, who plays all of these bratwurst sausages that come to these Nazi bratwurst.
Kevin plays the sausages.
Yes. It is so surreal, and there's this underground layer, and so much happens.
A Nazi stronghold in Canada underneath a convenience store.
Yes.
With zombie bratwurst.
Yes. That are Nazis.
I want
that
to
are little
see
Fuhrers. Little Fuhrer bratwurst.
I swear to you, James, you are going to regret your turd minionless life if you do not get your film made.
I was watching it and going, okay, well, he really loves his daughter because he made the hell out of this movie to give his daughter a starring role, but damn, it is really one of the goofier, funny movies that it's really hard to explain. Again, Army of Darkness is about the only thing that I can think of as a comparable, but Bubba Hotep is a really good other example of just something that's so
level
absurd.
Of ridiculousness.
So absurd.
I really want to see Yoga Hosers now.
You do.
You do.
There's some acting in it that's terrible, but then like Johnny Depp's character, if you do not know it's Johnny Depp, then you do not know it's him.
Wow.
He's under so much makeup with a French accent, a French Canadian accent, you literally have no idea it's him.
That's fantastic.
It's amazing.
Okay, I have to see it, and don't tell me.
You have to see it.
Don't tell me who it is. If you're in the room with me, don't tell me who it is.
I will. You know what? If we get the opportunity, I will watch it with you.
Okay.
It will be a funny movie to watch because
I still want to see Tusk. I want to see Tusk too.
I again, when I'm in the right mind frame, the only reason I went to try to watch Yoga Hosers is because I had heard it was funny. And I could deal with the humor element.
Yeah.
And damn it is hilarious.
And
the little Fuhrer sausages running around. Oh my God. It is because he has a little thing that he says. I can't remember what it is, but it's not
Okay.
a real word. It's like a sound.
Don't say what it is.
I don't remember, but I just
see
the
it.
only thing I remember about it is just like it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Dude, this is totally worth it. This is totally worth it. I want to see this so bad. This is totally worth it.
So that
And I swear, James,
yes,
I'm
that's
putting
me.
this out on the
That's
podcast
me.
now. Like, you need to make Turd Minion and the Dork Princess or whatever that.
All right, we'll work on it.
Right?
we'll
Turd
work on it.
Minion and the Dork Princess. Is that what it is?
The lowly. He's a lowly turd minion
The lowly Turd Minion.
who's in love with the dork princess. I haven't come up with a title or anything. That's just the premise.
Okay. That's enough.
Okay.
That's enough of a premise. You
Okay.
can make something out of that.
Okay, there's actually about 4 or 5 people who will hear this back. Seriously, you talked about the turd minion thing. Dear God.
Dude, like, in the middle of all the crap that's being made out right now, like, this is the day.
They put
this-
Justin Timberlake in a movie about damn it trolls. So I guess, I mean, seriously,
Yeah, right? Like, this is the time.
it would be. I mean, writing it, at least we know it can be animated at this point in time.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That would be. Do we go for PG-13, or hard R? Good question. Anyway,
Well, I
we'll
mean,
have to spitball this one later.
I was going to say, depending on the way that you want to go, have you seen Sausage Party?
I have. That's such a good movie. Such a
Completely
funny
off on the
film.
side here. But
Well,
I mean,
really,
yeah,
we were
between
talking- I was
that
talking
and
about
Yoga
sausages.
Hosers
Yeah.
and all of the Kevin Smith films,
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
Well,
like, this guy's the king of putting something together and doing
Fine,
it just
well,
because you
we
flip and
will
feel like it.
We will give regular updates to the podcast audience on how the story of the lowly turd minion and the dork princess is going. Okay. Put my foot in that one.
Yep.
So at this point, we are done with the Kevin Smith movies that he's actually completed.
Yes.
However, he is in the process of the new Jay and Silent Bob movie.
Yes.
And I believe we mentioned a little bit about that on the last podcast. We talked, I think, about the premise of it. Did that happen on the podcast, or was that conversation outside of it? Doesn't matter. When it comes out, we'll talk about it. We'll go and see it, and we'll talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
I will say I'm glad to see Jay and Silent Bob thing come back. I hope they do a good job with being reverential to the original Askewniverse movies. I'm
Yeah.
still hoping for a Clerks 3. I really, really am.
Wasn't this
There was
from
talk about
Clerks 3?
There was
like,
talk
this is
about
they started
Clerks 3.
with Clerks 3 and
And then went and decided to do this instead. I'm hoping for a Clerks 3 only because I would love to see where all the characters have gone to, just because it was such a nice ending for Clerks 2. I don't want I don't want to be done with those characters.
I think
I wanna
you
see
might
more.
see some of them.
I hope we get to
obviously.
see a
I mean,
little bit
since
of them.
you'll definitely
Well-
see at least Dante and Randall.
Well,
'cause-
no, Rosario Dawson did come back for a scene, so she was involved in filming.
Cool.
Yes. So was oh God, Booby Kitty F.
Oh
See,
yeah, that's right. Shannon Elizabeth.
I censored that for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No quacking.
Sometimes he likes the quack. Sometimes he doesn't like the quack.
Sometimes you feel like a quack. Sometimes you don't.
I'm gonna put a quack on that.
Please do.
Okay.
But yeah, it'll be nice to see that. It's just nice to see the evolution of the kind of filmmaking style that he's done. Again, this is a guy who, as we discussed last time, he was a voice, I think, of the generation. I think in these later films, I think he's dealing with some of the horror that he's seeing in society, some of the scariness in the changes in how we're dealing with things in society, and that his generation and our generation have had to deal with the kind of anger and hatred and the stirrings of all of the division that we thought was disappearing, that we were kind of told in the 80s and maybe into the 90s we were moving past all that division between people, and it's stirring back up again and becoming more of a problem again. Not to get too heavy on people about it, sorry. But I think maybe that's a reflection of what he's seeing in the world. Some of this this hate being brought forward and being more present again when we thought maybe we had kind of beaten some of it back. I mean, look in the 80s at they did the Live Aid type stuff, and they brought a bunch of these singers together to do all these inspirational songs that everybody's got like one or two lines in the song.
Yeah.
Unless you're a diva and don't want to do the one or two lines and get somebody else to do it for you instead. that kind of gave us a hope in that time period of things are going to be better, things are going to be different. We're ending all of this hatred and kind of getting away from it, and yet it seems to be resurfacing again, coming back in a cyclical nature. And maybe that's some of what he's saying. Maybe that's getting some of this voice out.
I think
Well, and if you think about it, if you apply that to yoga hosers, he's then having the younger generation, because it's his daughter and Depp's daughter. They're characters in this that end up vanquishing all the evil, and everything works out good in that. And it's almost like him saying the younger generation's got to be the one to make the differences happen, keep the change going in the right direction instead of us backtracking. I don't know if he's going that deep in his films.
I was going to say,
but that's a deep way to look at things.
That's a hell of a way to look at such a film. Maybe it is that kind of statement. I don't really know.
Mr. Kevin Smith, if you are listening, if I'm right, then give me points for that. If I'm not right, then just claim that I was right and take the idea for your own. I don't care. I'm good with that.
Thanks.
So anyway, we are done for today. We've gotten done with all of the Kevin Smith movies. We have another idea for you guys, though.
Oh, man. Is this when we're doing it? Are we pitching it now?
I'm going to pitch this.
All righty. Let's do it.
Okay. We were having a conversation the other day when we were getting ready to record the podcast. And just kind of an off-the-cuff remark. I forget exactly what started the conversation. But anyway, what ended up happening was one of our brilliant minds came up with the idea of, what would your favorite band taste like? Now, at first, that seems a really weird, esoteric idea. But as thoughts happened more over the weekend, and somebody watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. If you remember the Gene Wilder one, right?
Yeah.
There was this gum. Well, it's actually in both of them. There's the gum that they have that Violet eats, and it's like a 3-course meal.
Right.
And of course, she turns into a blueberry afterwards. Sorry, spoiler for 2 movies and a book that y'all should have read.
I was going to say, it's a 50-year-old spoiler.
Something like that. Read the book and watch both movies. They're both good movies for different reasons. So the idea came forth of, if you could take your favorite band, or any band, not even your favorite, just any band, and put them into this Willy Wonka gum, what would they taste like? What would the flavors of the gum be? And what would you turn into afterwards?
No, we're not talking about anything morbid. Like if you say that it tastes like, if you say that essentially it tastes like, human flesh and all that weird crap, that's not the way we're going with it.
Well, now hold on a second.
Well, only if it works in with the band.
Hold on a second. Let's get to what we're asking of the people listening.
Okay.
We're wanting you to give us bands that we are going to on the podcast, live on the podcast.
Yeah.
Come up with the flavors for.
Oh, we're doing it.
Yes.
Oh, I thought they were going to do it.
No, we are coming up with the flavors. We want submissions from people, bands, music groups.
Boy, I was really in on the loop on this one, man. Okay.
We're putting the work on us.
All right.
We have to come up with what each one. Now, I'm going to come up with a list of 10 bands. Mike is going to come up with a list of 10 bands. And then we are hoping to get at least 10 from all of you.
Okay.
I don't know if there's 10 people listening, but if there are, I need a band from each one of you. And we are going to try to come up with what we think would be the flavors. And like for instance, if we were to do the band Cannibal Corpse, then yes, it would taste like flesh because it's Cannibal Corpse.
Well, right, exactly.
That makes sense.
About what it would be. I mean, it would be a little bit more. And
we're asking for. We're also not going to do things like if there's members of the band that are dead, like the Beatles. I will be nice and not talk about them tasting like corpses or
that's terrible
involved. I want to say those things, but I'll be nice and not say those things. I know I am a terrible person with that.
James.
Here's a couple bands that I'm going to say from the get-go. We've already discussed. So and the answers would be too numerous to do. First of all, we've discussed Metallica because that's our favorite band.
Yeah.
And so we've gone over a couple of different answers for that. We'll leave that as it is.
Okay.
I would say Nickelback would be another one that you're just going to get negative stuff from us. Especially from me. I'm just going to be really mean and nasty.
Are you taking them
Nickelback.
off limits here? How about we
No, there's only one more. There's one more. Because I just know that these will be the ones that people will for sure say, and I want people to think outside the box.
Well, no, throw anything at us. I don't care what it is.
Fine. Fine. I was going to do one more, but that's fine.
Which one?
I'll write it down. And then you can veto if you feel you need to.
I ain't vetoing that, man. That's worth it. Come on. It doesn't matter about whether or not you like or don't like the band.
Words. Massive cuss words. Okay, fine.
You could tell us if you want to create, if you want us to make a flavor for Creed, which is what Heath wrote down, then fine. Here, it's not about whether or not we like it or we don't. We're trying to take an analysis
you're right.
of what it is,
okay,
and then kind of put it out there. What does the band feel like? Like, what does the band taste like if you were to put that band in your mouth? I was going there.
Fantastic, fantastic. And that's kind of, we just thought it would be just a little fun experiment. Hopefully a lot of laughs. I expect both of us to be laughing during it. So please, on this podcast, when this one airs, when you're done listening to this, and the day after this has been out, maybe the Saturday after this has been out, I will post something on both Twitter and on the Facebook to remind anybody that didn't get the chance to listen to it that this is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
But please put in the comments which bands, and you can submit more than one band. We don't care. We'll pick.
Throw out all of them.
We'll pick what
throw out as many as you can come up with. We would love to get as comprehensive a list as possible and be able to put some stuff together.
This is all about just having fun and being funny. We're not trying to necessarily offend anybody. We want everybody to be listening and laughing. Hopefully, I mean, I don't expect any of the bands to listen to us, but if they ever do, I want them to be laughing too.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
So now, Mike, if people want to listen to us, we've already mentioned the Facebook. I've mentioned Twitter. Where else can they find us?
Well, let's see. As far as getting those back, those ideas back at us, Facebook and Twitter is the best way to go.
Yes.
At Zencron, spelled XENCHRON. Now, if you want to listen to us, we're on Spotify, we're on TuneIn, we're on Google Podcast. We're working on getting on Apple Podcast. We'll get there eventually. I know we've mentioned that a million times. We're still working on it. You can also listen to us on our website, thezeniochronicles.com or zencron.com, if you don't want to type that much. And I believe that is all of the information.
ZenioChronicles.com also has links to everything. All the different places, and you can download
to our Twitter, to our Facebook,
and you can download the podcast directly from there if you want to be able to listen to it on the go and don't want to be streaming it from somewhere.
Yeah.
I think that's about it, sir. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you for tuning in, friends. The journey continues next week.